this past week, and it really was the end of last week, but I was really thinking about it this week. I'm just reminded of just how fragile and how uncertain life can really be if you don't know. There was this in near Francisco Key High School, the 16-year-old boy, he died in a car accident, and him and his four friends were all in his pickup truck when they crashed down an embankment because he was going too fast around a left turn. And I couldn't help but think, the other four, they're very blessed that were just injured and greatly injured. They had to be medevac to shock trauma, but he's 16 years old, after Thanksgiving, right before Christmas, just hanging out with his friends. And I have experienced that in my own when another holiday, I'm so happy to see family and friends, and I say goodbye, assuming that won't be the last time I see them. And it was, and I can feel with this family where their son's just hanging out with his friends. He's probably coming home, and maybe he shouldn't have been speeding. But are you going to yell at a 16-year-old boy for being a 16-year-old boy? They had no idea that might be the last time that they saw him, and I can imagine what they might be feeling, how disrupted everything became in an instant, plans unshattered, futures completely altered. No one knew that would be their last Thanksgiving together, and the headlines that I've seen like this ones that I've experienced in my own life, just show me the reality that human strength, resolve, even physical survival are all tested in ways that you just can't predict, that you just can't plan for everything. And I think Peter, he saw that fragility with life in his own, that he had declared once boldly before Christ, before all of the other disciples in a room, that he would never deny Jesus. That even if it cost him his very life, Lord, you don't need to die for me, I will die for you. Having no idea what the implications actually were, yet by another charcoal fire in the courtyard of the high priest, Peter denied him 3 times. Then what seemed in almost maybe a few minutes, perhaps an hour, his courage completely collapsed. And his failure seemed final. And then we get to come to these few verses. John 21, 15 through 19, that after breakfast on a beach, Jesus turns to Peter. And with all the ways he would totally be valid to respond, all the ways that would be warranted for him to treat Peter and talk to Peter, instead of condemnation, he restores him. The 3 times he asks Peter, do you love me? And 3 times Peter says, yes, you know. Well, then feed my lambs, tend to my sheep, feed my sheep. This passage reminds us that the love for Christ is the foundation of ministry. That if I get up here and start talking, Kathy, if you get up here and start playing, you guys stand and start singing, and you have not love or joy or the hope or the peace which he gives you, we're just a bunch of clanging cymbals, aren't we? Just a bunch of noisemakers giving lip service. But that we find that the love of Christ is the foundation of ministry, that to care for his people is the mission, and that discipleship brings a very real cost. But it carries a wonderful call on our lives, a purpose with which we couldn't even dream of conceiving for ourselves. That Jesus even foretells of Peter's death, showing that following him is not about comfort, it's about surrender. And yet the final word is not that you are a failure or fear that you can never be loved by me again, but an invitation. Two simple words. Follow me. And I believe that this passage asks each of you directly to reflect and ask of yourselves, is my love for Christ really genuine? Do I really have that love, and is it expressed in how I care for his people? Will I keep following him even when the path is costly? Because, that is the purpose and even Peter being commissioned to shepherd. I had a wonderful professor, and he was just quoting another pastor who was also a professor, centuries older, George Whitfield, but talking about how, sometimes the best people to preach grace are those who have received so much of it. Paul, George Whitfield saw himself, he's like, I'm one of the best preachers out there, not because he's great and has everything figured out, but because I've messed up so much and I've experienced so much of his mercy. Let me tell you about it. And being commissioned to shepherd, and I had a real tough time. That was my sophomore year. I had been studying all morning for a final exam I was about to take. And I thought the final exam time slot was from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I had been studying and studying and studying, and about 9:30, I was like, okay, I need to head down and get ready to take the final and prepare myself, when a fellow classmate of mine came into my dorm room and said, hey, wow, you got done sooner than I thought. How did the final go? I said, what? What are you talking about? I'm getting ready to go down. He said, no, it was from 8 to 10. And so I'm panicked. I got to go run across campus and then try to take a 200 question final in 15 minutes. I get there, I do the math. I'm like, that's 20 questions a minute. Can't even read that fast. I'm like, Lord, if there was ever a time to believe in your sovereignty, it's now. Make the answers fall into place. I hope it works out. It did not. I got a D for Dave. Some people get a D for degree. I don't know. But I was like, well, I'm not going to pass the class now. This is weighted so high. I'm like, and I can't do this. So I email my TA. I email my professor. I'm like, you're going to have to be gracious to me. This is favoritism. I don't. Is there any way? Is there anything I can do to try to fix this mistake? He gave me an extra credit opportunity. I want you to write a 10-page paper on what you've learned in this class, the greatest takeaway from this class. And I think I actually wrote on the Apostles' Creed. That was the first time I ever learned it, and we said it at the beginning of every single class time. And I think that's what I wrote about. I'm like, I'm so thankful for these creeds long before we had technology and the internet and all these books and all these commentaries that you could read. Like, this was the first, like, how can I know good theology? And I'm so thankful for it. And then also, as a side note, I made a joke about, also, I learned how to double check when the exam time is. And I thought, like, this is going to be enough. I think, hey, if I get a point a page, that's 10 points, and that might be able to get me where I'll pass the class. And he weighted that paper as much as my final exam would have been. And so I got a D on the final, and then I got like an A+++ on the paper. So it was as if I never took the final. I didn't necessarily pass the final, but I didn't fail it either. And Peter is commissioned to shepherd. 3 times Jesus asks him, "Do you love me?" Every single one of Peter's denials is mirrored with a question, "Do you love me now?" And it's not to shame him. You can imagine Peter is grieved. He is torn up 3 times. You're laying it on so thick. And you just understand the Lord's law. I have to ask 3 times because you said no 3 times. Not to shame him, but to restore him, giving him space to reaffirm, I really do love you. I really am devoted. That yes, at first it does seem quite, interesting that the Lord would ask Peter, like, isn't his name Peter? It's the rock, that he's the first one to confess Jesus to be the Christ. Why are you asking him? And yet that's exactly what Jesus does. He asks him, do you love me at first more than these do? And you think, okay, who are these? Do you love me more than the other disciples do? It's a comparison game. And it seems kind of out of place because we know Jesus, the greatest among you is to be the least among you, and the best of you is to serve, and you're not better than your master. Your student's not smarter than the teacher. So why does it matter if I love you more than them? It's not a comparison game. Like, it doesn't seem like, why would Jesus ask Peter to boast that I'm more devoted to you than anyone else? But I think Jesus is affording Peter this opportunity to remind himself that there was at one point in time that I had a valid feeling, a reasonable assumption that no one loved you more than me. That I loved you so much that I felt like I could confidently stand and say, I am your most devoted follower. To affirm his surpassing love. And Jesus doesn't say, you don't love me like that. He actually doesn't tell Peter, you're wrong to feel that way. He says, if that's how you really love me, then this is how I want you to show that love. You feed my lambs. If you really love me, you will feed my lambs. And he said to him a second time, Simon, son of John, this is verse 16, do you love me? And he said to him, yes, Lord, know that I love you. Well, then if you really love me, you will tend to my sheep. Verse 17, he said to him the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was grieved, and you can imagine him just fidgeting and like, I don't know how many times I have to say it. I can't be any more convincing. Yes, I love you. Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. And Jesus said to him, and feed my sheep. Oh, this is such a Jesus thing, a Christ thing to do, that he takes Peter's affection and he ties it directly to his calling. If you love me, then you will do this. Not to get me to love you, not for you to earn my love, but evidence. Do you really love me? And then you will obey these commands. That's what we learned earlier in John. In John 16, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And Peter is given 3 commands, all of them having to do with guiding the flock, nourishing Christ's community, being a pastor. That ministry flows out of love for Christ, that he serves his people, and that's how God knows he loves me. Oh, I have asked myself so many times as a pastor, maybe you've asked the Lord as a Christian, if I had to base my salvation on how well I love his people or my neighbor, where am I going when I die? 10 out of 10, it's not heaven. And I know those things aren't the basis for our salvation, but they are the evidence. You can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. And sometimes I have to ask, am I really bearing fruit? Is it rotten fruit? Is it decaying? That if Peter loves Jesus as much as he claims, he will see that the lambs that belong to Jesus are fed. And we had a wonderful time yesterday and Friday. We're starting a new family tradition now where we got to go to the Gaylord Hotel, and it was fun because it was an ice show, like everything, not just on ice, but everything's made out of ice. All these beautiful sculptures, and it was the Polar Express theme, and I've already told you how many times I've seen it this year, and my kids were going nuts, and they wanted all the pictures, and we took one even in like the bag of Santa's, presents, and it was so fun. But there were other times where I needed to run around with one kid, or maybe we had to leave the hotel room for something, and I would have to ask, like, hey, can you watch them while I'm gone? Make sure they don't jump over the balcony. Okay, make sure they don't try to drink out of the toilet bowl. That can happen. They're trying to brush their teeth, okay? It's the only one sink that they can reach, And you can imagine me just trying to leave them with my parents, or I leave them with my brother and sister-in-law, and it's like, take care of them while I'm gone. And the trust is weighty because I love each and every one of my sons. They're irreplaceable to me. They are one of a kind. And so just watch them. I trust you. And I felt that way as a pastor, the weight as a pastor. Maybe you felt this way, like, feed my sheep. Take care of them while I'm gone. I'm trusting you. I'm amazed that this is the guy that just denied you 3 times. Why are you even talking to him? And yet here you are, you're going to ask him, do you really love me? And then you're going to give him this kind of power. You're going to put him in charge of loving your people, feeding your lambs, teaching children, mentoring youth, encouraging the weary, visiting sick, listening to the lonely. You want this guy who keeps putting his foot in his mouth to protect unity and to guide truth and to serve with patience? He couldn't even wait to get to land. He jumped out of the boat. I've had to ask myself this, that you would ask yourself this. How is my love for Christ expressed in care for his flock? How can I do that here? Yes, I might not be the pastor. Yes, I am not Jesus in the flesh. Maybe I didn't go to school. Maybe I had all this time. Maybe I don't have all these life circumstances. Maybe I haven't read all the books. I haven't even read the whole Bible. But do you know Jesus? Do you love Jesus? Then you will feed his lambs. You will tend to his sheep. You will feed his sheep in one way or another. Maybe it's being patient when we're demanding everything but that. It's offering the kind word when they don't deserve it. It's praying for them even if you don't think anyone's praying for you. It's trying to trust the Lord and step out of your comfort zone even though you might not know all the ins and outs and how it might come to bear. But if you are a sheep and you have a shepherd, then you are to love him and to love others. So Jesus not only takes this man and commissions him, and he doesn't sugarcoat it, but shows him that there is a cost. There's a cost to discipleship. I wish I could get up here on Sunday mornings and offer you a carefree life, a happy life, a trouble-free life. I want to offer it to you because I want it offered to me. I want that. I would love nothing more. No pain, no suffering, no arguments. I want to have my cake and eat it too. And yet Jesus here in verses 17 and 18, he says to Peter the reversal of what happened at that first charcoal fire. The last one, Peter denied him 3 times. Here, Jesus asks him to affirm 3 times. And Jesus mixes these terms, lambs and sheep, feeding and shepherding. He wants Peter to be a pastor. And that's why I said sometimes it's those who have received the most grace that preach it so well. I believe the Lord also said that elsewhere in Scripture, did he not? That those who have been forgiven much love much. I tell you, I become so judgmental. I become so critical. I look for conflict when I forget how big the log is in my eye. I forgive less when I forget how much I've been forgiven. I am less merciful when I forget how merciful God's been to me. Become so critical. And the first one to correct when I forget all the errors I have made in my life. And that does not mean, okay, so we don't correct anything. Does that mean, we just forgive and, we're reconciled and we overlook offenses? No, I'm not saying any of that. Does that mean we just let people treat us like doormats? No. But I'm talking about our posture, the place from which we stand when we offer that counsel, we offer that rebuke. Hey, I'm not looking down on you. I see myself in you. I'm not going, how did you get to this place? I'm telling you, hey, I've been there. And it's not what God would have for you or for me. But he commissions Peter to be a pastor. And I learned elsewhere in chapter 5 of 1 Peter, his first epistle, first 4 verses, that he embraced this, that he came to love this. He loved being a pastor. But he knew the cost, and even Jesus foretells that cost. In verse 18, Jesus said to Peter, "Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were young, you used to dress yourself and walk wherever you wanted, but when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go." Now, I don't know if you know this, it's been historical tradition that it's believed that Peter was crucified, but he was crucified upside down, that he believed that he didn't consider himself worthy to die in the same manner as his Lord did. And I just think if this is true, that real discipleship, it's not about comfort. It's about trusting him with everything, surrendering to him in everything. But that even Peter's death will glorify God. John is notorious for having parenthetical statements. I'm always so thankful for context clues. And he says in verse 19, this he said to show by what kind of death he was to glorify God. Jesus didn't hide the cost. He actually names the cost. He said, this will cost you even your life. But I learned 2 things from this. One, even your death glorifies God. This is how his death will glorify me. Not just what I say and do or don't say and don't do, not just my thoughts and how I live, but even how I die might bring God glory. A second observation, it's talking about Peter's martyrdom. Many people die. Many Christians die, but few people die as martyrs. To be a martyr literally means to die for that which you believe. I don't know if he knew all of the implications in this moment when he got this commissioning. I didn't even get it right away when I was reading through this passage. But for Peter to die a martyr, it's a promise that Peter will never deny Jesus again. That he will die for that which he believes in. And I pray this for all of you, not that you would all necessarily be martyrs, although we learn that there is a blessing to that we don't go out of our way to, I can't wait to die for Christ. But we would all have that attitude, that posture, that willingness, that we might be able to praise the one and only true God, not just because of what we've said, or what we've done, or how we've lived, but even in how we died. That the Lord wastes nothing, that you would be like a good soldier where you know the mission, you know the goal, and that even at the cost of your very life, you will step forward for the cause that is greater than yourself. Never forget that you are fighting a good fight, that you are soldiers. Lord, I'm tired. I don't want a battle. Lord, I didn't ask for a war. I didn't sign up for a fight. I wish I could promise you that following Jesus costs nothing. I wish I could tell you freedom is free. That peace exists without peacemakers. But I cannot promise you something that Christ did not even promise to himself. A struggle-free life, a pain-free life, where something won't cost you your time, your convenience, your reputation, even your physical safety. And I'm learning this. Thankfully, I believe I'm learning this. Hopefully, day by day, that discipleship is costly, but not, do I have to really ask myself, is that true? But is Christ worthy of it? Is he worthy of it? I pray for my sister-in-law as she tries to protect and serve as a sheriff's deputy for Carroll County. Are these people worthy of it? Her life. Our men and women that serve in our armed forces, they are willing to die for this country. Am I worthy of it? Is he worthy to suffer for? Is he worthy to die for? I'm amazed because we weren't, and he is. And so you just have to ask yourself, and it's probably easier to name because we try to pretend like it's not there, but where he's asking us to surrender, is there a golden calf that he wants me to burn down? I'm telling you, our goal is not to enter into heaven unscathed and without a scratch, as if we hadn't fought tooth and nail to get there. But that with blood and sweat and tears, you will fight for him. You've been commissioned to love his people and to shepherd them. You have been told of a cost to that discipleship. And you've been called to follow him. And you have to ask yourself, when the rubber meets the road, am I the real deal? when things don't go the way I thought they would, when I don't respond the way I thought I would have, when my life doesn't reflect everything I know and believe. As a Christian, I thought I'd be holier by now. I thought I'd have more faith by now. I thought I'd be a better Christian by now. When Peter is confronted with the reality that he did something that he thought he would never do, and it wasn't just one time, but it was 3 times. And the Lord restores him. The Lord commissions him. He foretells the way in which he will die to glorify God. In the end of verse 19, and after saying this, he said to him, "Follow me." It's the same call that Peter heard at the beginning. It's now renewed after failure with full knowledge of cost. It's personal, ongoing. It's ultimate, that it's not defined by perfection, but persistence. Peter failed, but he's restored. He will shepherd and he will suffer and he will follow. I mean, these are the words himself in Peter chapter 5, verses 1 through 4 that I already mentioned. He says, "I exhort the elders among you as a fellow elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, as well as a partaker in the glory that is to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not domineering over those in your charge, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory." You have to go through great pains, at least for me, because I'm pretty self-absorbed, believe it or not, that I will always find myself in a passage. The first thing I run to, and I've even done that in my sermon prep, how's it relevant to me? How's it relevant to y'all? I mean, and the application part, these are the favorite parts of my sermon, because it's you guys really listen when I start talking about you. This is how it's relevant to you. Yeah, cool, explanation. Great, that was awesome for Peter. What does it mean for me? Words like that from Peter, I mean, it's gracious by the Holy Spirit that he puts that in front of me a lot as a pastor, that, these words, am I doing things for selfish gain and shameful gain? Am I under compulsion or am I willing? Am I eager? Am I not, I don't want to domineer, but I want to be an example and exercise oversight. And even though age is a number, I'm turning 30 in a week, so that's kind of, something, right? I'm 13 going on 30 though. But I want to be a faithful pastor. I want to be the faithful shepherd. I want to have the love and the joy and the hope and the peace and everything that Advent stands for. That can only come through serving Christ and caring for his sheep. But am I really in? Am I here because someone has to? Do I really believe this? Do I really love him? Have I counted the cost? And I wonder, I'm like, Lord, why did you not throw in the towel on Peter? How could you take him back? And then sometimes it's like, well, if he wasn't willing to use any of us, like if we had to wait until someone's qualified, he wouldn't have anybody to use. It's okay, fair enough. Beggars can't be choosers, right? It made me think of a time where in high school, and it was so fun. It was my senior year, and it's the championship game, and I love playing baseball. And here we are, and I've been, I'm not the most stellar player, but I wasn't the worst, and I was like always the guy that had to be good when he needed to be good. Okay, and it was just not a good game. I was 0-3 every time I got up to the plate. It's like, okay, how am I going to strike out this time? Because it wasn't. I don't know. It's just like it wasn't me playing, and I had a couple errors, and I'm like, I just need to sit out because no one's winning this game with me anyway. So at least I can take myself out, and I won't help us lose. I remember here it was. I was 0-3. Here's my fourth at bat, and we're losing, but we're like, we got a guy on first and second. I remember this because I was like, I'm going to drop the ball when this is like how moments are made in history, Little League history. And I remember the kindest words my coach could say. Here he is on third base, watch me step up to the plate. Come on, Hoff. We need you here. No, you don't. You need someone else. We need you here. Step up to the plate. Watch the first pitch because I'm not going to fall for some nasty pitch, but it was a strike right down the middle. I'm like, that's going to be the best one I'm going to see all day. Come on, Hoff, it's time for you to start playing. Get back in the game. Oh, and it's so easy for us to write ourselves out, to bench ourselves. It'd be a funny joke if I said, and I struck out and we lost and I had to learn to live with life, but that's not what happened. Beautiful curveball that was great for me, not for him, and did not break. Perfect, high and in, right where I liked it because I'm so tall, and I cracked that sucker. Shortstop had to duck. Wouldn't even dare try catching that thing. And that was a 2-run single that helped us win the championship game my senior year of high school. And it was all smiles, and I was running, and I was jumping. I'm like, that was the most epic single anyone has ever seen. We won the game. I just remember that because my coach, Coach Don, that his invitation for me, come on, Hoff, get up there. We need you here, was not based on a flawless performance by any stretch. But when you're on the White Sox, you play like a White Sox. Okay? It's like we didn't even wear white socks. You're on this team, which means you matter and you belong and you're necessary. I just think of all that. There's no denying that Peter denied Jesus. There's also no denying that here Jesus gives him an opportunity to confess his love and come back. That yes, this exercise is grievous to Peter. Yes, I know I'm a White Sox. Lord, you know I love you. Yes, I love baseball. And yes, it was grievous, but it doesn't mean it wasn't good for him. That the opportunity to match his denials with professions of love granted Peter an experience that matches and neutralizes the poisonous effects his betrayal of the Lord Jesus. And I see all of you each and every Sunday. We've read the Word together a lot, and we've prayed together a lot, and you've heard sermons together a lot. And you go, Lord, I'm not perfect, so don't put me in. Lord, I'm tired, I'm scared, I'm frustrated. I don't even know what I don't know, maybe. There's someone better. There's someone more qualified. Probably. And I'm not trying to be like, hey, look at me and how I do it, but I'm telling you, if I thought that same way, I'd be sitting there and not talking right now. Our elders and our ministry team leaders, we might be tempted, but if we thought like that long enough, you wouldn't have elders and you wouldn't have ministry team leaders. If you thought about that long enough when it comes to your relationship with Christ, and if he really loves you and you really love him, you might not even be here right now. But you are here, and your elders are here, and I'm here, and the Lord is here. So what does he say? Be perfect? Know all the ins and outs about everything? Or follow me? Wherever you are, whether it's restored from failure or you're entrusted with a new responsibility or you finally were aware of the cost of what this might mean for your life, it's the same invitation. That day in and day out, that this relationship would be lifelong. That am I walking behind him today? Am I willing to keep following him tomorrow? And then you ask him, Lord, help me always say yes. Lord, commission me. Help me to know the cost. But Lord, help me when you send out the call, I will listen, and you'll be with me through it. You can hear the words of Paul. You can hear the words of Peter. I pray you hear my words today. If he can do these things in them, if he's done these things in my life, I know he can do it in yours. I know it. I trust it. I pray that you would as well. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.